and that's why I agree with the petitioner and with the other members who have said that let's look at the issue of classification of hardship areas holistically, not just based on one area or the other. Let's have a broad policy, a very objective criteria on how do you classify a place to be a hardship area also of teaching and any other public service and government officers. Thank you.
Murugara, Kitonga, Taraka.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, my comment on the first petition is to associate myself with the Honorable John Kiarie. I believe the issues raised in that petition as regards proposed amendments would most certainly be best handled by the Committee on ICT, in which Honorable John Kiarie is the chair, and you may thus exercise your discretion and make such a direction. As regards the second petition, it's important that we start seriously considering which areas are to be hardship and which ones are not, and especially with the climate change that is prevailing in the country. Many areas that used to be extremely productive are becoming lesser and lesser productive to the detriment of our country. Mr. Speaker, sir, I brought a petition here and successfully prosecuted it that Tharaka, my constituency, becomes a hardship area. However, there have been bottlenecks from the government, from the Ministry of Labor, from the Office of the President, and up to now, that declaration has not been made. It is the high time the government move the speed to implement even some of the resolutions we make here. I do support those petitions.
Marwa, Kitayama, Korea East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, Korea has been mentioned adversely and wrongly. Korea has 4 sub-counties, Mr. Speaker. Only one sub-county is designated as a hardship area. So I think it is not true. But however, I support that the area in question, Karachuonyo North, be accorded those status because we understand the problems that will be obtaining in that area. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, I think the committees of this House are well represented holistically. I sit in the Committee of Public Petitions. Mr. Speaker, in the last Parliament, I was also a member of the ICT committee, and therefore I am aware and well endowed with information that can assist that committee to also prosecute matters on ICT. And that goes for a few other members. I think there are about 4 or 5 who have similar, if not more, experience on matters ICT. So I don't think it is enough. Because if we take that route, Mr. Speaker, then every petition has a place that it should sit. And then we will end up not having a committee of public petitions if we take that trajectory. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rest it.
Atandi Samuel Alego Usonga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to comment on the second petition on gazettement of Rachuonyo North sub-county as a hardship area. And Honorable Speaker, I would like to say that this is a very viable petition. But Honorable Speaker, I would like to urge the committee that is going to handle this matter to benefit from the work that has been done by the Commission on Revenue Allocation, which has done a very good report on hardship areas in the country, which was supposed to be used for distribution or sharing of equalization fund. And that report captures hardship areas up to the sub-location levels. So that's a report which this House and the committee should benefit from. Otherwise, I support the petition, and I think hardship zones are very many in the country, including my own, Alego Usonga, and this report should be adopted by even government agencies for the sake of policy formulation and distribution and sharing of national cake. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Atandi. Gichimu Githinji.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've not been to North Karachuonyo, so I believe I'm not best placed to comment on that petition at this particular time, Mr. Speaker. I'll wait until the relevant committee brings its report. But this is a matter that can also be picked by the Ministry of, the Committee on Education, because I believe the petition is because of the benefits that teachers derive from the areas that have been gazetted as hardship areas. But on the Committee on ICT, on the petition in respect of the ICT Act amendment, I believe there are two sets of petitions. There are general investigative petitions, and there are petitions that provoke amendments of the law. And I believe in this case, since there is a committee which is mandated by the standing orders as a departmental committee on ICT, I believe in your wisdom, Mr. Speaker, you'll find that this petition is best placed under the relevant committee that is supposed to deal with the amendments of the law. Otherwise, all those other general investigative petitions would be best placed at the Committee on Petitions. Mr. Speaker, I support, because the ICT area is dynamic. The digital space, there's always some confusion arising, and it would be proper for the committee to be reviewing the Act annually for the purposes of amendments that may be necessary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The last, Ambassador Benjamin Langat Ainamoi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member who has brought the petition on hardship area for the teachers. Mr. Speaker, although he has mentioned his constituency, but I think this matter is a matter that it needs to be looked at nationally, Mr. Speaker, because the matter affects all the teachers within our republic. Mr. Speaker, I think the criteria that was used initially, the parameters which were used were limited. I think it is time the parameters are revisited so that we bring on board many other places, Mr. Speaker, who seem to be doing well, but it's a hardship area, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, so I would want to encourage the committee that will be looking into that matter, that we look at it as a national issue as opposed to a Karajonyo North issue, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, perhaps the committee should consider proposing some areas could be given, graduated kind of a scale, Mr. Speaker, so that we bring on board all the areas of our constituencies, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I support the petition, but as I say, I will request that it should be look at it as a national issue as opposed to one area issue, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. We close there on petitions. The petitions are committed to the Committee on Public Petitions. On the issue raised by the member for Dagoretti South, you know, as a committee, you are not limited to do your work because there's a petition. You can, on your own volition and your own motion, pick up any statute within your jurisdiction, scan through it, propose amendments, and bring the amendments to Parliament as committee amendments. So you don't need to glide or ride on any petition to do your work. You are so advised. Before I call the next order, honorable members, I wish to acknowledge the presence of Mwiki Primary School from Ruiru, Kiambu, in the public gallery. On your behalf and on my own behalf, we wish to welcome the students and their teachers to the House of Parliament. Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Majority.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And with your indulgence, Honorable Speaker, allow me to also welcome in a very special way Mwiki Primary School, because I happened to visit the primary school way back in 2018 with His Excellency the President when he was Deputy President. And is amongst the most popular primary schools in this country. And it took the President's intervention to build for them at least 5 new classrooms, and therefore welcome to them to the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Thursday, March 2nd, 2023. reports of the Auditor General and the financial statements in respect of the following institutions for the year ended 2020 and the certificates therein. Rangwe Technical and Vocational College, Omuga Technical and Vocational College, Kericho Township Technical and Vocational College, Seme Technical and Vocational College, and the Institute of Human Resource Management. 2, reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following institutions for the financial year ended 30th June 2021 and certificates therein. Godoma Technical Training Institute, Bondo Technical Training Institute, Siala Technical Training Institute, Seme Technical and Vocational College, Ugenya Technical and Vocational College, Kericho Township Technical and Vocational College, Taveta Technical and Vocational College, Asumbi Teachers Training College, Jaramogi Odinga University of Science and Technology, Maseno University, Kisumu National Polytechnic, and the Kenya Forest Service. 3, reports of the Auditor General and financial.
You skipped one. Mabera. E.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mabera Technical and Vocational College. 3, reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following institutions for the year ended 30th June 2022 and the certificates therein.
You've switched to the majority leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The Clerk, Infrastructure, Finance, and Public-Private Partnerships Projects, Additional Financing, IDA Credit number 6121-KE. 2, the Kenya Off-Grid Solar Access Project for underserved counties, IDA Credit number 6135-KE, Rural Electrification and Renewable Energy Corporation. C, Mombasa, Nairobi, Addis Ababa Road Corridor Development Project, Isiolo, Merile, Moyale Road. D, Capital Markets Authority. And E, State Department for East Africa Community. Thank you.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Member of Parliament for Dagoretti, I believe, South, John Kiarie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I rise so that I can beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, 2nd March 2023. And Mr. Speaker, what I'm tabling is a report of the Kenya delegation to the 145th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union, IPU, and related meetings held in Kigali, Rwanda from 11th to 13th of October 2022. Mr. Speaker, as you would know, IPU is the Parliament of Parliaments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Kiarie. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Kiarie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I do rise to give a notice of motion. And Mr. Speaker, I rise, Mr. Speaker, to move that this House notes the report of the Kenya delegation to the 145th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union and related meetings which were held in Kigali, Rwanda from the 11th to the 15th October 2022, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 2nd March 2023. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Kiarie, the Honorable Cecilia Ngitit, MP, Turkana County.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to table a motion of adjournment of this House under Standing Order 33, subsection 1, to discuss rising insecurity cases in the North Rift counties. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 33, subsection 1, I rise to seek leave for the adjournment of this House in order to discuss a definite matter of urgent national importance regarding the rising insecurity in the North Rift counties. Honorable Speaker, there is a great concern over the rising insecurity cases in the counties of Turkana, Samburu, Laikipia, Baringo, and Elgeyo Marakwet, where hundreds of lives and property have been lost, leading to economic deterioration in the region and massive displacement of people. Regrettably, the security apparatus in the region, particularly the National Police Service, seems to have either been overpowered by the heavily armed bandit, or there is a general lack of goodwill and determination by the national government to end the spiraling insecurity. Honorable Speaker, in addition, close to 50 police officers, non-governmental organization officers, and hundreds of locals have lost their lives in the hands of the cattle rustlers, who are heavily armed and appear trained. In the recent past, Mr. Speaker, over 10,000 livestock have also been stolen. It's further regrettable that schools and other public utilities have been shut down due to this perennial insecurity. Honorable Speaker, in addition to the internal security issues, Turkana County has been experiencing instances of incursions from across the international borders. Turkana County borders 3 countries, that is Uganda, South Sudan, and Ethiopia. There have been deadly raids against the Turkana people and encroachment of the Kenyan territory, leading to loss of life, livestock, and grazing areas over the years. Honorable Speaker, it's against this background that I seek your leave for the adjournment of the House to discuss this matter of national concern on insecurity in the North Rift counties and the international borders, which has destroyed the economy, development, and social amenities in the region. I call upon the national government to intervene through a deliberate, decisive, and permanent action to end this insecurity in the region. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Celia, you need 20 members to stand in support of your request before I accede to it. Honorable Cecilia, the support is overwhelming. Thank you, members. You may take your seats. Your motion of adjournment. Order, honorable members, you may take your seats. You have given the effect already. Honorable Cecilia, your motion will be slated after order number 10 or at 1 hour to the end of time, whichever comes earlier. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements. The Honorable Abdurrahman Muhammad. Yes. We'll start with questions. There are 2 questions today. The first one is by the Honorable Peter Masara, member for Suna West. Honorable Masara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 42A5, I rise to ask question number 11 of 2023 to Teachers Service Commission. 1, what measures has the Commission taken to enable the career progressive of P1 teachers who have attained qualification of bachelor's degree in education and are still teaching in primary schools? Number 2, could the Commission consider posting the P1 teachers with a bachelor's degree in education to teach in junior secondary schools and enhance their remuneration and benefit to commensurate with the academic qualification? 3, could the Commission state the measures as put in place, if any, to compensate graduate teachers serving under P1 grade for the years they have worked as graduate teachers, and if not, are there any plans to compensate them, and how long will it take for the teachers to be compensated? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The question goes to the Departmental Committee on Education. Honorable Members, the next question by the Honorable Rueda Obo. The Honorable Member has requested that she has an emergency in her constituency, so the question will be deferred to Tuesday afternoon. The Honorable Abdurrahman Muhammad Abdi Lafe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to request for statement regarding implementation of older person cash transfer program. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 44.2C, I rise to request for statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Social Protection regarding implementation of older person cash transfer program in the country. Honorable Speaker, it is of a great concern that the number of elder persons from vulnerable background, particularly Lafay constituency and across the country, who are in the need of financial support for their sustainability. In regards to their well-being, is tremendously high. The coverage of the old person cash transfer program is very low. At the national level, nearly 90% of potential eligible poor household with at least one older person age 65 and above is not receiving old person cash transfer program benefit, indicating a very high under-coverage rate. However, the value of this program is not sufficient to actually lift the people out of poverty, and issues of adequacy remains unsettled. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson, Departmental Committee on Social Protection on the following. 1, could the chairperson request for status report and the list from the ministry on those who benefit from this program in Lafay constituency and the exact amount they receive? 2, could the chairperson provide information on the criteria used in the process of selecting the beneficiaries for the older person cash transfer program? 3, could the chairperson explain the measures and the mechanism the government put in place for identifying and reaching the vulnerable person, such as disabled elders and those who are incapacitated? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next, Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44.2A, I rise to give the following statement on behalf of the House Business Committee, which met on Thursday, 28 February 2023, to prioritize the business for consideration during the week. Honorable Speaker, as members are aware, the House did approve the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the first supplementary estimates for the financial year 2022-2023 on Tuesday, 28 February 2023. This, Honorable Speaker, paved the way for publication of the Supplementary Appropriations Bill of 2023, and in line with our standing orders, the bill was considered at all stages yesterday and passed. Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to commend the Budget and Appropriations Committee and the Debt Committee and all members of the House, including all our chairs of departmental committees that were involved in this process, and indeed, as I mentioned, all members for their steadfast commitment during this process that saw the successful conclusion of this important business yesterday. Honorable Speaker, with the conclusion of the Supplementary Appropriation Bill, the focus now of the House shifts to the consideration of budget policy statement and the debt management strategy paper. In this regard, Honorable Speaker, do expect, in line with what is listed as Order Number 8 and Order Number 9, that we will pass 2 procedural motions this afternoon to allow for extension of the period for consideration of the BPS and the debt management strategy. This, Honorable Speaker, will ensure that committees and the House have enough time to engage all the stakeholders, noting that the resolutions that we emanate from the work around the BPS and the debt management strategy will form the basis for the vertical distribution of national revenue through the division of revenue bill and the annual estimates for the next financial year. Honorable Speaker, it is also expected the House will today consider the report of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on the vetting of Honorable Shadrach Mose for appointment. Sorry, Honorable Speaker, gadgets here are playing themselves. It is expected the House will today consider the report of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on the vetting of the Honorable Shadrach John Mose for appointment as the Solicitor General of the Republic of Kenya. I want to urge members to be present and to actively participate in this important business of the House this afternoon. Honorable Speaker, members will note that the House Business Committee resolved to commence the processing of members' questions pending the conclusion of the report of the Procedure and House Rules Committee on the matter. Indeed, Honorable Speaker, several members have already asked questions in the House this week. Consultations are ongoing with the Executive as we endeavor to schedule the answering of these questions in the coming weeks. Honorable Speaker, for information of the House, the business for the next week includes the resumption of the general debate on proposals to amend the Constitution and the standing orders, debate on the report of the 42nd session of the Organization of the Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific States and the European Union Joint Parliamentary Assembly, and the second reading of the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendments Bill, National Assembly Bill number 60 of 2022, should any of the business not be concluded today. Finally, Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee will reconvene again on Tuesday, 7th March 2023 to schedule business for the rest of the week. I now wish to lay this statement on the table of the House. Thank you.
Thank you, Majority. Honorable members, before I go to the next order, I wish to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery of Kanjalu Girls High School from Tigania West in Meru. Honorable members, on your behalf and on my own behalf, I wish to welcome the school, the students and their teachers to the House of Parliament. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion, extension of the period of consideration of the budget policy statement.
And Appropriations Committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I rise to move the procedural motion on the extension of period for consideration of the budget policy statement, that notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 232-7 relating to presentation of budget policy statement, this House resolves to extend the period for consideration of the budget policy statement 2023 by a period of 14 days from the 1st March 2023. Mr. Speaker, in brief, the reason for this prayer is that, Mr. Speaker, law was made for man, not man for the law. Mr. Speaker, we are in a period that is different from the other years because last year was a transition year. We had a new government in place, Mr. Speaker, and in that process of having the new government in place, Mr. Speaker, a lot of time as stipulated in PMF Act and also in our standing orders was lost in the way. Mr. Speaker, the budget making process primarily starts with something called, we call sector working groups, where 10 sectors, as we have compartmentalized the country in 10 sectors, meet to have their priorities, Mr. Speaker, and also have their limits. And Mr. Speaker, this ordinarily happens in September. But unfortunately, because of this period, Mr. Speaker, and what happened after the elections, this was only possible to be done in November. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, this also affected the calendar for the consideration of the BPS. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, is that the budget-making process is a consultative process where we need to hear as many voices as possible. And Mr. Speaker, in this regard, many MDAs present their issues to various departmental committees, and thereafter the departmental chairs appear before the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Mr. Speaker, as we were considering the supplementary estimates, we realized that we have been limiting chairs in regards to presenting the issues within the MDAs. And therefore, first of all, we needed to give them time to interrogate the MDAs in a more comprehensive manner, but also as they appear in the Budget and Appropriations Committee, we did not rush them too much, Mr. Speaker, in regards to time. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, is that we are seeking to consider this BPS in a very comprehensive manner. We don't want to do it as a routine, Mr. Speaker, where we give chairs only 10 to 20 minutes. Mr. Speaker, the enormity of this exercise, Mr. Speaker, I think it transcends the time that has been set. And Mr. Speaker, I will implore upon this House later that we make adjustments in PMF, that instead of the 14 days, that we should actually report to this House after the tabling of the BPS. Mr. Speaker, will be putting forth recommendations that we extend that from 14 days to 28 days, so that, Mr. Speaker, we can have these considerations done in ample time, because this is a very, very important exercise. Mr. Speaker, I move and I call upon Honorable Gabriel Kagombe from Gatoto South to second this procedural motion.
Honorable Kagombe.
Honorable Speaker, I stand to second this procedural motion because of the seriousness of the timelines that are required. So, having looked at the budget, the estimates that came to Parliament from National Treasury, the timelines are not sufficient, and I therefore second the motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We have not proposed yet. Honorable members, I propose the question, which is that notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 2327 relating to presentation of budget policy statement, this House resolved to extend the period for consideration of the budget policy statement 2023 by a period of 14 days from 1st March 2023. There being no interest in contributing to the debate, I now put the question, which is that notwithstanding the provision of Standing Order 2327 relating to presentation of budget policy statement, this House resolves to extend the period for consideration of the budget policy statement 2023 by a period of 14 days from 1st March 2023. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, procedural motion, extension of the period for the consideration of the debt management strategy.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that, notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 232A4 relating to the presentation of the debt management strategy, this House resolves to extend the period of consideration of the debt management strategy 2023 by a period of 10 days from 1st of March 2023. Honorable Speaker, as this House is aware that Kenya's public debt stock has reached Kenya's shillings 9.15 trillion and presently accounts for 67% of the GDP. Honorable Speaker, the 2023 medium-term debt management strategy is intended to provide a financing strategy that will minimize the cost and risk of public debt. Honorable Speaker, this year, unlike previous years, this House has a dedicated committee to review the debt management strategy. This is a new level of policy specialization that this House can count on, and we thank the House for the continued support. Honorable Speaker, based on these factors, I beg to move. I thank you. I ask the member for Gatanga to second.
The member for Gatanga.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to take this opportunity to second this motion. And bearing in mind the importance of this motion, in particular on the debt management in this country, and bearing in mind is a fact that the debt stand over 9.1 trillion, and where 1.3 trillion of our national revenue goes to service that debt, it's appropriate, it's important that we give each and every member of this parliament an opportunity to ventilate on the issue of debt management. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, I second the motion.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, I now propose the question, which is that notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 232A4 relating to presentation of debt management strategy, this House resolves to extend the period for consideration of the debt management strategy 2023 by a period of 10 days from 1st March 2023. There being no interest in debating the motion, I now put the question, which is that notwithstanding the provision of Standing Order 232A4 relating to presentation of debt management strategy, this House resolves to extend the period of consideration of the debt management strategy 2023 by a period of 10 days from 1st March 2023. As members of that opinion say aye. Those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, special motion, consideration of a nominee for appointment as the Solicitor General.
The Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to move that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of a nominee for the appointment as the Solicitor General of the Republic of Kenya, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, March 1st, 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 9 of the Office of the Attorney General Act 2012 and Section 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of Honorable Shandrak John Mose as the Solicitor General of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to inform this House that the Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs has produced a report, a vetting report after hearing the candidate. It's a detailed report which each member ought to have a copy, and it contains all the relevant material necessary for approval of this candidate. We began by establishing that, in fact, the background information was in order, including how the position was advertised. He was interviewed by PSC. Eventually, he was appointed by His Excellency the President, who communicated to the House, and the matter was referred to Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. We then from there held approval hearings on the 23rd of February 2023, and it clearly emerged that Honorable Shandrak John Mose, a former member of Parliament, is qualified to become the Solicitor General of the Republic of Kenya. We were able to establish his educational background, which was straight. We were also able to establish his own ethics. Again, he passed very well because he had all the documents. We were able to establish whether he has the capacity to be the Solicitor General. And it was clear to us that as a renowned lawyer in this Republic of Kenya, and also as a former member of Parliament, he is qualified. That too bled very well, because this is a public office that actually requires both the professional qualification and public service, so that he is able to deliver and discharge his duties. We had various findings and observations which are contained in this report. At the end of it all, we made a recommendation to the House that Shadrach John Mose be approved. Vetting is not an examination. It is purely like a peer review where members of parliament do question the candidate as to his own or her own suitability. And here, the Solicitor General is actually the Deputy Attorney General in the country. He is also like the Principal Secretary in the Office of the Attorney General, being the accounting officer. But most of it is he is a lawyer. And in this Committee of Justice and Legal Affairs, there are seats, well-known advocates and lawyers who actually aid a peer review of Shadrach John Mose. I start by pointing out the Member of Parliament for Kibwezi West, the Vice Chair, Honorable John Mutuse. We have Honorable Farah Malim of Dadaab, Francis Kajoang TJ of Ruaraka, Otiende Amolo, Senior Counsel. We had Onyego Silvas Nazosoro. We have Makali John Okwisia of Kandui, Honorable Murio Wakili Edward, Honorable Maina Jane Njeri. Honorable Murio is of Katanga, while Jane Njeri is Kirinyaga. We also had Honorable Gishohi Kagusha John Philip of Mukurweine, Honorable Mogaka Stephen of West Mugirango, Honorable Mohammed Aden Daoud of Waji East Constituency. All these are advocates who actually had the peer review, the vetting, and all of us were actually of a unanimous decision that Honorable Shadrach John Mose be approved. Therefore, with those remarks, and having considered the suitability, capacity, and integrity of the nominee, and pursuant to the laws we have quoted, the laws we relied upon, that is Section 9 of the Office of the Attorney General Act 2012, and the Section 8.2 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, the Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs recommends that the National Assembly, which is this house this afternoon, approves the appointment of Honorable Shadrach John Mose to the position of Solicitor General of the Republic of Kenya. With those very many remarks, I beg to move and request the Honorable Silvanus Onyego Osoro, the Chief Whip, and a member of the committee to actually second. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the nominee has, what we found out during the vetting, the nominee was admitted in 1992. He has a vast experience in legal practice, over 30 years. Not a single disciplinary case has been lodged against him with the Law Society of Kenya. He's also ran his private practice for about 25 years or so, and very successfully, and several young legal practitioners have gone through his law firm. And as a member of parliament, of course, for 5 years, he's created huge networks within this house and across the country with good relationship with several members of high standing in the society. And also, what to note, Honorable Speaker, is that even the member that succeeded him actually came to offer support, moral support for him. So that clearly shows that the gentleman has really had good relationship with the people. So with those very few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to second. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Soro. Honorable members, I propose the question, which is that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of a nominee for the appointment as the Solicitor General of the Republic of Kenya, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, March 1st, 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 9 of the Office of the Attorney General Act 2022 and Section 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of Honorable Shadrach John Mose as the Solicitor General of the Republic of Kenya. The screen is full. I don't know if it's full for this matter or earlier orders. I'll start with the Honorable Ekomas Mutuse Kibwezi West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I sit in the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee as the Vice Chairperson and participated in the vetting of Honorable John Mose. And I confirm that from my own observation, Honorable John Mose is suitable to hold the office of the Solicitor General. Shadrach Mose. Mr. Speaker, members are aware that at this time, Parliament is considering the budget policy for next year's budget. And the Solicitor General is the accounting officer for the State Law Office. And therefore, there is urgency in having a substantive Solicitor General so that to give policy and accounting direction to the Office of the Attorney General. And for those reasons, I urge this House to approve the appointment, having been a former colleague, having been a professional lawyer of many years standing, so that we can move forward as a country and we can have the right people in office. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Jared Okello Nyando.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity. And on the same breath, I want to also support the appointment of our brother Shadrach Mose. Shadrach was a colleague here, Honorable Speaker. He was such a humble guy. I did not even know that he was a lawyer because of his humility.
Are you saying lawyers are not humble?
I take back that, Honorable Speaker. I take back that, Honorable Speaker.
Totally out of order.
But, Honorable Speaker, suffice to say, Honorable Shadrach, coming from the Gusii community, where we have had lots of complaints about alienation when they were giving out the positions of permanent secretaries, I think this will feed into helping the Gusii community come to the realization that at least they have been remembered. But again, Honorable Speaker, we have had lots of pending bills at the AG's office, and the Solicitor General plays an important role to respecting payments when it comes to cases that have been lost by government in our superior courts, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I do believe that once he settles in office, he will move a little faster to make sure that we do not pile up these pending bills, especially for the lowly in society who are feeding not from hand to mouth but finger to tooth, that these payments will be respected and they will have their monies and their lives will be improved. And I thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity, and I support.
The Honorable John Kagusha.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. And honorable members, Honorable Speaker, I am a member of the Jailer Committee, which vetted Honorable Shadrach Mose. And I also stand to support this motion, and I support that he actually is approved by this National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, when we were interviewing this gentleman, one of the things I appreciated is that he's an honorable member who've actually served the people of this republic with dedication, with commitment, and he has shown interest in ensuring that the public good is upheld. Honorable Speaker, one of the things that made me consider this candidate positively is because when we put questions to him as to whether he's going to assist the government to ensure that he puts the correct and right advice to the government. He answered to the affirmative, because we all know that the government has had challenges, especially of losing major and landmark cases. We all remember the way government lost a case in BBI and many other cases that the government has kept losing. And what Honorable Shadrach Mose put across is that it's going to give the right advice to the AG and to the government to ensure that the government is actually winning cases. Again, we also know that we have had contracts that have been signed by government where the government has ended up losing. The people of this republic have ended up losing immensely because of carelessness, and sometimes you realize that it's because of the wrong advice. For example, in a situation where you have an area where we are signing a contract where we are also ceding our sovereignty as a country, that is definitely a wrong contract. And one of the things that Shadrach Mose was able to assure our committee is that he's going to be keen to ensure that in future we do not have those kind of contracts where the public loses in terms of whatever the contract has been signed. We are aware of the SGR contract, for example, where the government has lost immensely. Now, those are some of the things that have made us approve and support this gentleman. And we believe that he's going to be keen, he's going to be alert, and he's going to be committed and dedicated to his work so that we can have nothing but the best in terms of the contracts that are going to be signed in this government. Of course, lastly, he promised that he's going to fast-track all the pending bills that are in the Attorney General's office to ensure that all those bills have their way in this House and that we pass them for the benefit of our people. Honorable Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Wandai, James Wandai, the leader for minority.
Madam Speaker, let me make a few comments about this report concerning the nominee, the Honorable Shadrach Mose, whom I know very well. You know, Shadrach Mose joined us in the last parliament. And I've got no doubt that he's a good lawyer. A good lawyer. He was not known to be very controversial. So I think his demeanor should be able to help him steer this very critical docket. But let me also say, Madam Speaker, that Shadrach Mose is seeking to fill very, very big shoes. Very, very big shoes. The person Shadrach is set to succeed, that is Mr. Ken Ogetu, was a very, very competent jurist and administrator. I had the occasion to interact with him when I was chairing the Public Accounts Committee in the last parliament, before which he used to come as the accounting officer of the State Law Office. Ken was able to address issues efficiently, effectively, and on a timely manner. So I suppose that Shadrach will be able to carry forward, carry along with the work that Ken was doing in that very important office. It also comes as a coincidence, I don't know if it's a coincidence or by design, that both Honorable Mose and his predecessor come from the same region. So I'm not sure if what Honorable Kelly was saying is true, that the Guzi community should see this as a reward. It is not. Shadrach is simply replacing one of their own, you see? So there's no gain for the Guzi community in this. There's no gain whatsoever. There's no gain whatsoever for the Guzi community. In fact, I feel for the Abagusi community. They have gotten a very low deal in this regime, Madam Speaker. Can you imagine that out of over 50 plus principal secretaries, the Abagusi have got not a single one? It has never happened in the independent history of this country. And I'm not just talking for the sake of talking. That is a requirement of the Constitution. It is in the Constitution that as you make appointments, you put into consideration regional, ethnic, and all other balances. And therefore, as we debate the nomination of Ms. Honorable Mose, we must feel for the Abagusi community. And I think this House has got the mandate, in fact, the power to right those kind of wrongs. Such wrongs must be righted by this House. Because otherwise, if we let such wrongs take root, this country will go a very wrong direction to the detriment of all of us and the future generations. So, Madam Speaker, as I stand here not to oppose this proposed appointment, I can't oppose it. It will be wrong for me to oppose it, because otherwise I'll be contributing to the injustice. I'll be an accomplice to the injustice being meted on the Baguzi community if I oppose this nomination.
Well put.
Okay?
Well put,
And therefore, I raise my case. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Minority Whip. Thank you. Is anything out of order, Leader, for Majority?
No, I've not contributed.
Oh, yeah. So you may proceed, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was a little mesmerized by the defense that the Leader of Minority has put up. The only unfortunate thing is that the Leader of Minority is in a way trying to incite or excite ethnic feelings, but the people of Kenya, unfortunately, are more intelligent than that today. The people of Kenya know that people are appointed into offices and even elected. That is how the people of Kenya elected a president, on merit and on the basis of his ability and the manifesto he sold and his vision for the people of Kenya, not on the basis of his ethnicity. And therefore, I want to encourage the Leader of Minority to apprentice himself and bring himself up to speed to where the majority of Kenyans are. The majority of the Kenyan people are not looking at us on the basis of our ethnicities, but the content of what is in our heads and how we can apply what is in our heads to serve the people of Kenya. And therefore, I support the appointment of the Honorable Shadrach Mose, not on the basis of his ethnicity. And if anything, if I listen to the Leader of Minority and what he's saying, Honorable Shadrach Mose is a principal secretary per se, because he is the accounting officer in the office of the Attorney General of Kenya. And therefore, you cannot say that there's a community that doesn't have an accounting officer, because principal secretaries are accounting officers. And the Honorable Shadrach Mose, not representing the Abagusi community, but as a man who has been vetted, and the committee and many members who have spoken ahead of me and also myself agree, merits to serve as an accounting officer in the office of the Attorney General. He warrants that position, Honorable Speaker. And having served with him in the last parliament, in the 12th parliament, Honorable Speaker, I can confirm to the country that the Honorable Shadrach Mose is not just a humble servant of the people, but a very diligent worker. Those who worked with him in the House Business Committee in the last assembly can bear me witness on that. Those who served in the Transport and Infrastructure Committee in the last parliament can also bear witness. And I also happened to work with the Honorable Mose as he ran for his parliamentary seat on a UDA ticket. And as we formed the UDA, we worked very closely with the Honorable Shadrach Mose. And he's not a man you can intimidate. He withstood a lot of intimidation and coercion by those who believed that they had the state, they had what they call the deep state in the system, and those who believed they had all the powers to even indicate to people in parts of Nyanza, where he comes from, where they had to go to politically. And the Honorable Shadrach Mose stood firm to ensure that he stood for what he believed for. But I want to encourage him as he settles down in the state law office to ensure that, as he did promise during his vetting, he will professionalize the state law office. We must not again see many cases being lost by government in court, and we must work with him and support him as he sought during his vetting to enhance the budget for the state law office to ensure that they have good professionals and they can retain the best brains in the country. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support.
Thank you very much, Majority Leader. The Honorable Lillian Gogo, member for Rangwe.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, I also rise to support matters that concern a colleague. The Honorable Shadrach is not only a colleague but an astute lawyer, and is a Kenyan of good standing and well-meaning to the people of Kenya. And I want to thank the JLA committee for taking its time to vet this particular candidate for this good office. And Honorable Speaker, there are a class of people out there who think that members of parliament, people in the National Assembly or Senate are not well read. But from what has been presented here, in the name of Shadrach Mose, who is being proposed and vetted for the position of the Solicitor General, Madam Speaker, if you could protect me from loud discussions because I'm disrupted.
Honorable members,
Yes.
Order, honorable members. I request that you consult in lower tones so that the honorable member for Rangwe can be heard.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. There are some people who think once they have spoken, then a question should be put. But here I am supporting the nomination of this particular candidate, Honorable Speaker, and it is a good show that Parliament has content, Parliament has people who can also be charged with other national responsibilities. And I thank the committee for doing a good job, and I support the proposal that Honorable Shadrach Mose be the Solicitor General. I thank you.
What is out of order? The Honorable Kagombe, what is out of order?
Madam Speaker, I rise on standing order number 95-1, and I have listened to the debate about the appointment of the Solicitor General in this House. And Madam Speaker, I am convinced that what has been put and the mood of the House is that you put the question because the debate has been exhaustively discussed, and I therefore request, Madam Speaker, that you put the question and you call the mover of the debate, put the question, and we finish this debate. Put the question, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Sorry, the mover to be called upon to reply.
Okay, order, honorable members. I would like first of all to find out whether it is the mood of the House that I put the question. So, honorable members, is it the mood of the House that I put the question? Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many of the other opinion say nay? Honorable members, the ayes have it. Honorable members, before I do that, honorable members, before I put the question, then I'm obliged to give an opportunity to the mover to reply.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to reply. Thank you.
Honorable members, then I therefore put the question that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of a nominee for the appointment as the Solicitor General of the Republic of Kenya, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, March 1st, 2023, and pursuant to provisions of Section 9 of the Office of the Attorney General's Act 2012 and Section 8 of the Public Appointment Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of the Honorable Shadrach John Mose as the Solicitor General of the Republic of Kenya. Honorable members, will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the opposite opinion say nay? The ayes have it. The member for Turkana County. You may now move the adjournment motion. You may proceed, member for Turkana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to table this motion of adjournment of the House under Standing Order 33 subsection 1 to discuss rising insecurity cases in the North Rift counties. Madam Speaker, I had read the motion notice, and all I want to do now is to mention a few things and then invite my colleagues to elaborate on the same debate. Madam Speaker, it cannot be business as usual. We cannot afford to sit here comfortably when some other parts of Kenya are not really living as they are required to be. Madam Speaker, as we sit here, some families have been displaced from their ancestral land, Madam Speaker, due to banditry. Madam Speaker, as we speak, some schools have been burnt down and Kenyan children are not going to school because the bandits burnt down their schools, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as we sit here, some roads that are linking Kenya to international businesses are not passable. For instance, the A1 road that links Kenya to South Sudan is impassable as we speak. Many people have lost lives and we've lost property. Madam Speaker, as we sit here, many families in Turkana region, and I believe in the other regions that I mentioned, have been rendered poor because they have lost their livestock to this banditry menace. And you know, in those regions, livestock is the main livelihood. Madam Speaker, we've lost a lot of property to the banditry menace. We've lost schools, we've lost facilities like hospitals, they have been burnt down. So it is not, I've always said it is no longer cattle rustling as people would say. Madam Speaker, the conflict in the North Rift has become a land issue. It's no longer cattle rustling. Because, Madam Speaker, as you can observe, when these people are raided and killed, the perpetrators of these heinous acts move to settle in those places, meaning their main aim is to chase away these people from their ancestral land in quest for enlarging their territories. Madam Speaker, we've lost officials, government officials, to this menace. You remember the former president was giving a directive after Kenya lost over 20 GSU officers in Kapedo. And the perpetrators would just go on and say, sorry, Mr. President, we thought they were Turkanas. And that was on record. Madam Speaker, and the bandits could go ahead and don on those uniforms, take away those guns, and kill more Kenyans using our own ammunitions. Madam Speaker, there are instances where when you go to the scene of crime or the war scene, you get that the cartridges of war, some of them are marked with our own made in Kenya labels, meaning these bandits are accessing ammunitions from the government factories, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, today I want to thank the President of the Republic of Kenya. As the head of the defense forces of this country, he had ordered that the defense forces to be deployed in these areas that have recorded high numbers of attacks. Madam Speaker, as we speak, although we don't have information, clean information, because I know this is August House, we are not supposed to share rumors here, but we can share what we hear out there. Word has it that some leaders in this house are in record financing this menace, Madam Speaker. And they have even gone ahead to contribute money to compromise the commanders of the KDF forces so that the KDF officers cannot carry out their duties as they have been directed by the commander-in-chief. Madam Speaker, as we speak, there is an operation going on in those regions, but the attacks and raids are still going on, Madam Speaker. As we speak, there are students who are not going to school. Their schools have been burnt down, yet the operation is still ongoing, Madam Speaker. So we are not understanding where are these KDF camps and where are the bandits doing these operations from. Madam Speaker, there are these video clips doing rounds in social media of the drone of the KDF forces. They have seen where these bandits are hiding from. They have seen where they are cooking from. They are having their breakfast, even attempting to shoot the drones, and nothing has been done, Madam Speaker. We just want to know, who is this person that is above the president, that these bandits really depend upon, Madam Speaker? We have seen leaders making insightful statements, and nothing has been done about them. Because when a leader stands up and threatens the government that if government brings, I don't know, anarchy, we will serve them anarchy in huge doses, and the government has done nothing about it. Madam Speaker, the financials of banditry in the north are in this house. They are sitting pretty, and the government is just seated looking at them. Madam Speaker, we just want the government to smell the coffee. It is no longer business as usual. It has gone to the level of terrorism, Madam Speaker.
What is out of order? Honorable Ambassador Benjamin Langat, member for Anapoi.
Madam Speaker,
Ainamoi.
Madam Speaker, while I did not want to interrupt the member, but Madam Speaker, this House is entitled to factual information, and casting aspersions on members of this House and members of defense forces, Mr. Speaker, is completely out of order. Madam Speaker, I heard the honorable member saying some defense forces members have been compromised. I've also heard her say some members of this House are financing the banditry, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, can she name the members, substantiate the information she's giving to this House? Otherwise, Madam Speaker, this motion is not coming the right way, Madam Speaker.
Member for Turkana, what is your comment about the matter that has been raised by the member for Ainamoi?
Madam Speaker, the honorable member shocks me. You know, he's not affected. He's speaking from his comfort zone. He has never lost a relative to this menace. He has never lost a property to this menace. So he's just commenting from his comfort zone. Honorable member, you don't need rocket science to understand that the sponsors of banditry are in this House. Honorable Speaker, recently, the bandits were airlifted.
Order, member for Turkana.
Honorable Speaker, recently there is a video
member for Turkana, order. There is a matter that has been raised by the member for Ainamoi, the Honorable Benjamin Langat, concerning two allegations that you have made. One, that members of the defense forces have been compromised, and two, that some members of this House are financing banditry attacks. And these are very strong allegations, and I would like to give you an opportunity. Would you like, you can make a decision to withdraw and proceed, or I can give you an opportunity to substantiate what you have said. I will not withdraw. Further, Honorable Member for Turkana, I would like to give you guidance on a standing order, based on standing order number 87, contents of speeches. and I'll go to 4, 87.4. No member shall impute improper motive on any other member or to a senator except upon a specific substantive motion of which at least 3 days' notice has been given, calling in question the conduct of that member or that senator. So I would like to give you an opportunity to, you can make a decision to withdraw, or if you want to continue, we can give you an opportunity to table the names.
Madam Speaker, someone is keeping on switching me from one mic to another. What is happening?
The mic that you had has a problem, so kindly move to the mic
I
on
had
your
moved this one
on
and
your
then I
left.
was moved here again. Msilete banditry hata hapo hivyo. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you see, I'm being switched from one mic to another. What is happening?
Honorable Member for Turkana, you have the floor and you have the mic.
Yeah,
Please proceed.
please. And protect me so that no one switches me to the other mic again. Madam Speaker, you've read to me some standing order about facts in this house. Madam Speaker, whatever is happening in the social media and in our mainstream media, stared at by all Kenyans, can be said to be facts. When you have an honorable member of this house owning a chopper, airlifting bandits who have a case in court concerning the same, what do you want me to say about the same, Madam Speaker? Then secondly, about the compromise of the defense forces, Madam Speaker.
I would like to exhaust the initial point of order by the member for Inamoi.
Yes, Madam Speaker, and please protect me from honorable members like Wanjala, who is sitting in the inside Kenya, who doesn't know what we are going through in the North Rift. Please, Honorable Wanjala, stop bullying me. I have to make my points.
You know, honorable member for Turkana, you have a very important motion that you are supposed to prosecute. And remember that you rose on the floor of the House this afternoon and you got the requisite quorum of 20 members. And you have a very important business that you need to do. And you have the protection that you need, and I can assure you that I did not notice the shouting that you're talking about by the Honorable Wanjala. It wasn't loud enough to distract what you're saying. I would like to give you an opportunity, based on that standing order number 87, to make a decision on what you would like to do. Would you like to withdraw and proceed with your motion, or you would like me to give you an opportunity to substantiate what you have just said? And remember that you have still made further additional allegations.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I'm a Christian. There is information with our Directorate of Criminal Investigations about these matters. And we cannot be ganged from saying what we know, Madam Speaker. And if at all anyone thinks I'm speaking lies, Madam Speaker, why then would you think a primitive community like mine, where I come from, Turkana, that is a pastoralist community, they are called primitive in quotes, or Pokots or Marakwets, or how can they sustain a war with a government without sponsorship, Madam Speaker? What do you want us to understand with that? And there are people, whenever these communities are brought to book, who come right away into the media to protect them, to airlift them. Madam Speaker, Kainuk, there are OBs in our police stations in Kainuk. There are OB occurrences in those books where some vehicles coming from our nearby counties carrying ammunitions to be supplied to those krals who stay in Turkana County at the moment. And you don't want us to say all that. Madam Speaker, I will not withdraw that statement. And about the compromise of the KDF, Madam Speaker, even when our KDF were working on Al-Shabaab, let me substantiate the last one.
Honorable, you can take your seat. First of all, you have withdrawn, and I take notice of that, so that you can continue. You can proceed with your motion. You have withdrawn. I would also like to give you guidance based on the same standing order number 87-6. Except as a speaker may otherwise allow, it shall be out of order for a member to refer to an extract from print or electronic media as an authority in a member's speech. And I would like to encourage you to proceed. You are doing very well. Please proceed and move your motion.
Okay, Madam Speaker.
I took notice that the honorable member for Turkana withdrew.
Madam Speaker. Okay, Madam Speaker, I stand guided by the Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I choose to continue tabling my motion.
Honorable member for Turkana. Member for Turkana. I would like to give you an opportunity to withdraw and proceed. I would like to give you an opportunity.
Madam Speaker,
to withdraw.
If the word withdrawal will make me table my motion, I withdraw and I'm going on tabling my motion, Madam Speaker.
You may proceed.
Madam Speaker, the main reason of adjournment motion is to stir emotives and emotions within this house that really we are sitting pretty here when things are going wrong on the ground. Madam Speaker, we cannot sit here. Some constituencies, their children are going to school. Ours are not going to school. Simply because their schools were burnt down, the teachers cannot be posted there because there is some community that has trained terrorists who cannot allow teachers to carry out their duties, Madam Speaker. So it will be an injustice if we are told not to put things as they are, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as we sit here, there are people in Lomelo, that is Capital Napetom ward in Turkana East, who have no homes because in the 2 nights before, they were burnt down, Madam Speaker. And you just want us to sit here tabling motions that are not of any importance to this country, Madam Speaker. When lives of Kenyans are endangered as we sit here, the people we represent have no homes. As all of us will be under a roof tonight, there are people who are sitting under trees, Madam Speaker, waiting for their death because they are surrounded by bandits in Lomelo, that is Capital Napetom ward in Turkana East, Madam Speaker. As we sit here, Madam Speaker, we will travel safe to our houses, then come back next week to this house. There are people who cannot access their homes because those roads are impassable due to this banditry menace, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think the highest intervention is the one that has been done by the President, who is the Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces of this country. He has deployed defense forces to those areas. But, Madam Speaker, surprisingly, the raids are still going on. So what do you want us to deduce from that? The defense forces are on ground, but raids are still happening. Vehicles are not passing the A1 road. Children are not going to school. Schools keep on being burnt. Homes are being burnt. Some people are burnt alive in their houses, Madam Speaker, in Kapedo ward. And you say this is a country we all belong to, Madam Speaker. It is so unfair, Madam Speaker. And as we even face the internal aggression, Madam Speaker, we still lose lives to the external boundaries. We are still being raided by people from South Sudan. We are still being raided by people from Ethiopia, by people from Uganda. And we belong to this country, Madam Speaker. During this freedom era, Madam Speaker, it is so unfortunate. Madam Speaker, some of us have been sent here to represent our people. And it is unfortunate when we take up to the floor to explain what they go through on their daily lives. Then people take it as a joke. It is so unfortunate. Madam Speaker, I therefore call this House to give a consideration to this motion. Discuss, try to put your feet into our shoes. Can you put your feet into our shoes? You are not sure of being elected next time because our numbers are reducing daily. We are losing electorates every day, Madam Speaker. Even registration of persons to get the IDs are frustrated efforts in our county, Madam Speaker. In which country are we, Madam Speaker? I'm not secure. I don't know if I will be elected by the numbers that elected me in the last elections because we are losing huge numbers.
I'll give you another 2 minutes so that you may finalize.
Okay, even before I finalize, Madam Speaker, because I'm even becoming a bit emotional, you know, I'm a victim of banditry, Madam Speaker. I'm one woman who was wedded traditionally in Turkana, and you know what it means to be wedded traditionally. Herds of cattle that were given to my kinsmen, Madam Speaker, not even a single one can be traced in our yards. It went to West Pokot, Madam Speaker. Yeah? It went to West Pokot County, Madam Speaker. So we are, if people of our stature are victims, so you can imagine that Turkana person there, down there. Madam Speaker, I want to donate this time to honorable members herein to support this motion. And because I have all my kinsmen in here, let me donate this motion to nearby counties first as we go.
You are out of order, member for member for Turkana. There is time for them to speak. So first of all, the rules do not allow you to do that, but I want to assure you that they'll have their time so that they can contribute to this motion. Honorable members, I would like to give this to the Honorable Mark Nyamita, member for Uriri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, I want to say I don't come from a pastoral community. I know the mover of this motion is saying that you donate it to your neighbors first. But we have heard you, we hear your emotions. And I don't know how it feels when the dowry that was paid for you is now not there, it's been taken. But Madam Speaker, I just want to urge, I know there's a crisis. Yesterday I was watching the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, who's leading the operations in this area. And his sentiments sort of tie to what my colleague member for Turkana is talking about, that this thing has actually moved from cattle rustling to terrorism. And I just want to urge the government that we cannot continue to sit pretty when lives are being lost, especially lives. But I also want to urge our people in the pastoral community to slightly elevate the value of life, human life over cattle. In fact, I am a bit disappointed. The honorable member was proceeding very well, but to say that she's more worried about her votes, the number of votes that she got, whether she's going to get them, is really trying to belittle the issue at hand. The situation in Turkana, other than the drought that is ravaging the country, I was watching on TV yesterday, Madam Speaker, leave alone livestock, people are dying. When you have children, I was reading even in a newspaper today that someone has chased away students from school and occupied it with his 2 wives. It is a very, very sad sort of a situation. And I actually think the government needs to give it a bit more attention. One of the things is that in that community, which is what I'm continuing to urge, even in my county, Madam Speaker, one of my neighbors, in fact, one of my colleagues, one time, who is the highest person who was on record having married with the most number of cattle. He carried almost about 500 head of cattle to just marry a lady in our village. In fact, it was even trouble. I just wanted to adopt, even in my community, to marry you must take cattle. But maybe we adopt other things. We can use money. We can use other means of payment. So that the moment we detach value from the cattle and give more value to human life, I think that is, because what is the dispute? Someone's cattle has been taken, someone's cows have been taken, it's just basically about animals. And that is what is leading to the loss of life. So I think that is one thing that we need to do. But I just want to urge the government that more efforts. This country at large, not only the pastoral community, is facing a very serious crisis in the near future, emanating from this drought that we are currently experiencing. These guys are going to be having double tragedy. And I feel you, and I want to urge my colleagues, if there is anything that we can be able to do, if they can take the whole of the military to that particular area to wipe out all those people. And it would be very sad if the allegations that my colleague is talking about are serious, that there could be someone elected and is sitting in this house or the Senate, the house that is supposed to be protecting Kenyans, the house of last resort for many people out there, that there would be someone in this particular house who is using his own money to continue funding. And I just want to urge my sister that as you substantiate, and if you have any evidence, I urge that the next time when you're talking on the floor of the House, you come with that evidence on this floor of the House so that we deal with facts that are here. Or other than reporting it to the police, it would be very sad, so that we call out that particular member or members if they are sitting with us here as we are debating serious issues of national importance, whereas at the back end, they are funding the killing of other people and messing of other people's livelihoods. It would be extremely sad, especially now that this is a house that Kenyans actually look up to. I want to urge the government, if it is indeed true that we are to believe what the Cabinet Secretary spoke about, that this thing has moved to terrorism, then we need to upgrade the response from cattle rustling, and the force that has been deployed in that particular region should match a force that is now combating terrorism in this country. So that we deal with it. The president spoke about it. It's almost 2 weeks. It's almost going to a month. And people are still crying. In fact, the cries are even louder. Can they increase a force that now can deal with the issues in that particular area? And I feel you, my sister, and I just want to urge my colleague that my colleagues in this house, that let's all forget about our areas for once and consider our sisters and our people coming from the cattle rustling areas, and let's see what can be done. Can the government begin to also look at other economic activities that can, the communities in those areas can be involved in, so that we don't end up with people killing each other? And this is a thing that has been on almost from the time of independence. And I just want to say I am here to support you. If there's anything that we can do, let us join our sister. And I move to support that motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Member for Riri. The Honorable Florence Gematia, the women member for Baringo County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, I want to thank my sister, Honorable Cecilia, for the good work and this motion that is before us in the floor of the House. I must say that I am with you 100%, and this is something that we members from the affected regions have been crying loud. And I also want to thank the floor and the House in general for taking time and considering this as a support for us in the Kerio Valley region. Madam Speaker, I must say from the onset that I come from Baringo. I consider Baringo as one of the manufacturers of bandits. As a member of Baringo County, I speak here with authority that that is where most of this problem has been emanating from. We have one constituency in my county, Madam Speaker, that has been the only denominator of bandits. It's called Tiati. And I'm not sorry to say that because it's true. When I was a member, when I was doing my campaigns, and I have been all through as a member of parliament, taking any keen interest in stopping this behavior. Madam Speaker, when terrorism was associated with Somaliland and Somalis and the Islam, they stood firm and they condemned it. When Mongiki were terrorizing everyone in this country, the Kikuyu community stood firm and said it is enough because it was associated with them. Today, there is a community called the Pokots who have vehemently refused to condemn this menace. They are the ones who are terrorizing everyone. Every neighbor who is within Pokot is crying. The Samburis are crying. Laikipia is crying. Turkanas are crying. The Tugans, Elgeyo Marakwet, just because you didn't choose to be a neighbor over Pokot. I want to speak with authority that I'm speaking for the next generation. This is a menace that we must do it and deal with it today. I am also speaking as a member of parliament and a member of this government. I voted for the Kenya Kwanza government. And every time I see myself standing on the floor defending, I also feel that I did and participated in creating a government that should solve the problem that is at hand. One of the problems in Baringo County today, children are not able to go to school. I thank the president for ordering the KDFs and other military and security agencies to deal with these bandits. But I want to support my sister that it is not true. Whatever thing is happening is something that all of us are actually wondering. As much as we are using the coffers money, and members of parliament, please, this is the money that is being spent from the people of Kenya, and it must show us results. We cannot, at any moment, be watching when schools are not opening. I have more than 7 schools that was closed when bandits raided schools. On CS Kindiki yesterday, before the television, gave a whole horror that there's one school called Ngelecha Primary School in Baringo South, that bandits went, raided the school. This bandit has several wives. Wife number 1 is in class 8. Class 7 and class 6 is putting all his children. The school compound is becoming his cow bomber. This is Kenya. I am a victim of bandits. And every time I speak from, it is really painful. I have lost relatives. I am here to condemn this menace with all power that can be given to me, that this is the only time we can stand up as members of parliament and say no. It is true. Some of us are actually the perpetrators and the beneficiaries of this menace, and they are sitting in this floor of the house. I might not substantiate now, but every time you want this, I will give you. And I know. And I don't speak from, I speak from the point of information and knowledge. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Jared Okello, member for Nyando.
I thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity, and I align myself with the quest by the Turkana representative raising this pertinent issue. Honorable Speaker, banditry is not a new phenomenon in this country. It began many years ago. It has refused to dissipate, and the government seems to be doing just lip service. I'm saying lip service because when there was something akin to a prayer in Nakuru, the leaders did implore upon the administration to send the military to these bandit-prone areas. Madam Speaker, the following day, even without the approval of this House, we saw tankers getting into Turkana and Samburu areas. That was a mere PR exercise, Honorable Speaker, because I want to believe when people who are indoctrinated into banditry see real intervention by the military, they would run to Sudan, they would run to Somalia. They will not stage additional protests and carry out cattle rustling within this country. And therefore, I say that what we saw was a mere PR exercise, Madam Speaker. Now, as our government is busy carrying out PR exercises, people are losing lives. And now this problem has actually metamorphosed into something else, akin to cultish movement. Yesterday, a video went viral, even though, Madam Speaker, you have read something around it, but there was something that young people and young girls are having their private parts being chopped off, in addition to what they have been subjected to, Madam Speaker. It is said insecurity anywhere within our territorial boundaries is insecurity everywhere, the epicenter and the periphery alike. And therefore, we cannot sit pretty in this house, listening to lamentations by people from the north every time about insecurity. If we have a government that has failed to tame a bandit, just a bandit, this is a government that should be home yesterday, so that a proactive government, responsive to the plight of the people, can be put into office, Madam Speaker. So when our colleagues from Turkana
when our colleagues from Baringo speak, Samburu speak, it is upon all of us to rally behind them. Because what if they defeat government in areas where they live? They will be in Nyando constituency tomorrow. And therefore, this is not a problem that we can leave in the hands of those who are suffering. Our country must be rallied behind this cause universally. And we have to tackle it on land, air, and sea, if possible, so that these bandits can be subjected to justice. Madam Speaker, I know that even though the military carried out a PR stunt, immediately they landed in those areas. Some of the machines they are using, some of the trucks that they are using are so rickety that they only landed and became demobilized on the same day. One time, the Interior Cabinet Secretary, a man that we all have lots of respect for, was addressing a public baraza in a place, and bandits were actually burning people's houses less than a kilometer away. That is the minister in charge of security. If I was the minister, I can tell you nothing like that can ever happen. That I'm addressing a public baraza and you are burning homes. I will personally go in and eradicate you and neutralize all of them. And therefore, I'm challenging these people. This is not a laughing matter, Madam Speaker. Let us all rally behind, as leadership of this House, behind our people, so that this can be resolved once and for all. And if this government has failed the way they have, can they step aside so that Azimio gets into office and correct all the wrongs that have been perpetuated for way too long? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Teach member for Marakwet West.
Madam Speaker, I wish to be protected from Honorable Wanjala. Madam Speaker, thank you for giving me an opportunity to contribute on this very important motion. And I want to thank my sister for bringing this very important motion before the floor of this House. Madam Speaker, governments are elected into office to protect property and the lives of its people. Madam Speaker, it is unfortunate that since independence, the people of Kerio Valley, the people of conflict-prone zones, have been neglected by successive regimes in this country. Madam Speaker, as we speak, the entire Kerio Valley, the entire conflict-prone areas is under the command of militia. Madam Speaker, the area of Tiati, Turkana, part of Marakwet, Samburu, Laikipia, they are living in medieval times. Those are areas that they have no infrastructure, there are no roads, there are no schools, there are no hospitals, they are living in the dark ages. Madam Speaker, military intervention is good, but that is a short-term measure. In fact, in my opinion, we need deliberate civilization in that area. Madam Speaker, that is an area that still lives in a pre-colonial era in this country. Madam Speaker, we allowed the recent intervention by the president. But again, we need a proper military intervention as envisaged under Article 241(3) of the Constitution. Madam Speaker, the recent intervention by KDF, we are being told that the KDF is under the command of the police. In my opinion, that is very unfortunate. We need a proper military intervention as was seen in the Sabot Land Defense Force. Madam Speaker, KDF alone managed to wipe out the SLDF by wiping out Matakwe and the team. So, Madam Speaker, it is not a very easy thing that we think we can be able to just solve through military intervention. Madam Speaker, this government should form a serious commission of inquiry to inquire into the problem that is facing the people of Kerio Valley and the entire conflict zones. Because the problem is historical. The problem is no longer about banditry and cattle rustling. It is becoming or mutating to expansionism. And that is the biggest problem that we have as we speak. So, Madam Speaker, secondly, I agree with my colleague, Mheshimiwa Chematia from Baringo, that these people need to be classified as terrorists. These are not bandits. The cabinet or the president should convene a National Security Council meeting and have the bandits be declared as terrorists and be dealt as such in accordance with the laws of this country. So, Madam Speaker, in short, in as much as we have the KDF who have gone to that region to solve the conflict, we need a long-term solution in Kerio Valley. Madam Speaker, the reason why a certain community is blamed for initiating this problem is because of exposure. They need to be exposed, and that area needs to be developed in its totality because it has been left out by the government for quite a long period of time. So, Madam Speaker, we need a commission of inquiry to properly investigate the matters affecting the people in Kerio Valley. Secondly, we need proper disarmament. At what age, can you imagine people wielding guns? And we have legislation in this country protecting our people from being killed. Madam Speaker, I beg to support this motion in totality, and we pray that we shall get, in the fullness of time, we shall get a lasting solution in Kerio Valley. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Fatuma Mohammed, member for Migori County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity you've given me to contribute to this. First, I want to start by congratulating my sister and feeling the pain that you feel. For you to have taken, even for you to bring this motion here is already a risk for her. And I'm praying for you that may Allah protect you, that they don't get to you. They are watching you now, saying this one is interfering with our business. And I'm very sure, as a woman, you cannot come here and yell what you know it is not true. For sure, there must be some truth in what she has said about whoever is financing this. I may not be aware who that person is, but I beg that we do listen to her. And if there is something that this government can do, which I believe they have opportunity to do something, consider her statement, protect her, and get the truth. This is a woman speaking. This is a mother speaking. Honestly, it is painful, and she is a daughter. This country, I was born many years back, but I remember when Moi was the president, there were some people who were called shifters. Moi made an order. Within 40 minutes, there's no human being that was left called a shifter. What government are we having today? The Pokot population is merely 621,000. You can interview each one of them and know who a bandit is. Either the government is not concerned or the government is not serious about this. And if the government cannot take it up to them, then we as the women, as the wives, as the daughters, as the mothers, as the people who get affected most, we will take to the streets and we will find a solution to this because the government is taking this for granted. This is a major issue. This is seriously a major issue. When my sister talked here about her votes, she didn't mean that she wants them to vote her back. She merely meant that the population that voted for her, she is losing a big population. That is exactly what she meant. She is here to talk on behalf of the people who voted her. She is talking as a mother of this country, so am I. Can this government tell us they are not able to take care of their own people who are fighting within? And the extras who are outside there, the Al-Shabaab, all those people who are terrorists, are watching and saying, what a country we are, that our own war amongst us, we cannot handle. And they're saying this is a weak country and we are becoming a target. We are showing that we are not able to take care of our people. And so the bad people outside are saying, we are soon going for this country. And within a minute, I saw a joke sometimes from Uganda that that person can take this country within 3 minutes. And I'm seeing this country, within a second, the bad people can take us. If we cannot take care of such a small community, it doesn't affect me in Migori County. I sleep with my doors open. We don't do this kind of things. The only thing that worries me is my fish, if at all it will cross to Uganda. But I'm feeling what she is feeling. There is something that the country can do about this. I was born a small girl. I saw it happening. I am growing old. I have gray hair, and I'm still seeing this happening. Clearly, this has nothing to do with cattle rustling. And if the country is serious, if the leadership of this country is serious, they will get the root problem. We know that they've been marginalized for long. We know that education, they're still behind. We know that they're not taken care of. I don't know their voting pattern if it has anything to do with this. But I believe by the end of the day, these people are Kenyans. These people pay taxes. These people deserve to be given security just as people of Migori are enjoying their security. Please, the government, listen to the women, listen to this woman and feel her pain. And please do something about this community. Not only for the women, even the men are losing their daughters, they're losing their wives. And the future generation is at stake. I beg that if there's anything, even if it means donating our salaries, if the country doesn't have money, take our salaries and do something to help the people who are suffering. It pains me as a woman. It pains me as a mother. It pains me as a taxpayer. And I'm speaking to the government. Do something, or we find a way as women, and we will do something. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Phyllis Barto, member for Moiben constituency.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also rise to join my colleagues in the debate on the issue of banditry in Turkana. I support my colleague, county women representative from Turkana, for this very emotive issue. Madam Speaker, the Constitution, Chapter 14, Article 238, talks about national security. It is the duty of government to provide and protect its people internally and from external threats. But, Madam Speaker, the issue of insecurity in the regions mentioned, Turkana, Samburu, Laikipia, Baringo, and Elgeyo Marakwet, have become a perennial problem. Until now, we don't understand when this problem is going to be put to rest. I listened to the county women rep Turkana presenting this issue very emotionally. And some of our colleagues were trying to make fun and even telling her not to mention what he was saying. A member of parliament represents people, represents a constituency, a county. So when she brings an issue to the floor of parliament, she knows where the shoe pinches. She has talked about schools being closed in our constituency. At this time in Kenya, we are implementing the CBC curriculum. We have the junior secondary schools. Every part of Kenya is busy trying to see that we get it right. When we close schools in some other parts of Kenya, what are we trying to say? What will happen to those children in those particular regions? Who will fight for them? They are part of Kenya. Something has to be done. She has talked about police officers she has mentioned over 50 of them who have lost their lives. These are the people who are supposed to be giving protection. When those ones who are supposed to be protecting the people are under threat, who will fight for the people in these regions? Madam Speaker, I happen to be, I mean, as a neighbor of this county, Madam Speaker, Moiben borders, or is a neighbor of Elgeyo Marakwet and Trans Nzoia and Baringo and Turkana